See if these sound familiar. I tried a thin coating of flaxseed oil, which looked amazing, but stuck like hell. I've been using flaxseed oil. It was costly, and I have not been enjoying the results. I tried seasoning using a new bottle of pure flaxseed oil. I followed the directions to a T, and the flaxseed oil reacted like glue and made my pan sticky. Yuck! I do not like flaxseed oil for seasoning carbon steel pans and skillets. Now today what I want to do is kind of go through a popular seasoning method, the one that calls for seasoning a brand new pan in the oven 6 times in a row with flaxseed oil. I'm going to go through what I don't like about flaxseed oil, what I don't like about that method, and then end up with what I think are better recommendations to get your pan seasoned correctly and up and running so you can do some good cooking quickly. Let's get started. Problem number 1, there is no common ubiquitous flaxseed oil that we can all use and get consistent results. Now, if you run a major cooking show in a major US city on the East Coast, you probably have a lot of high-end flaxseed oils to choose from. Out here where I live, now I don't live in the sticks, I live in a metro area with a couple of million people, and we have a nice high-end grocery store near our house. Now some people take selfies, I take pictures of grocery store shelves. But at my local grocery store, there are a ton of oils to choose from, but there is only one bottle of flaxseed oil. Now flaxseed oil, the nature of it, it's more of a small batch and almost more artisan type product. It's not a Crisco, it's not a Wesson, it's not a major store brand of a vegetable or canola. I get that. And in a lot of respects, having a small batch artisan product is a great thing to have. When it comes to seasoning carbon steel pans and skillets, it's almost better to be a little bit more of a conformist and stay in the herd. We want to use a mass market ubiquitous oil. If we all use consistent inputs and follow the directions to a T, we should be able to produce consistent results. With flaxseed oil, you just can't do that. Flaxseed oil, it can be refined, it can be unrefined, cold pressed, shelf stabilized, on and on and on. So if I go down to my grocery store and pick that one bottle of flaxseed oil I have to choose from, it could be completely different than someone else's flaxseed oil. There's no common ubiquitous flaxseed oil we can all use. Now contrast that with a Crisco canola, a Wesson vegetable, even a Kirkland or a Member's Choice vegetable oil you can get in a mass market retailer. Those are all going to be relatively similar. So if you go to a Walmart and buy a Crisco canola oil in Miami, Wichita, Bangor, Maine, or Grants Pass, Oregon, it's all going to be pretty darn similar. Furthermore, it's all going to be fresh. That inventory turns over a couple of times a week sometimes. You're not going to get rancid Crisco canola oil at a Walmart. It's just not going to happen. Contrast that again with that one little bottle of flaxseed oil on my local grocery store shelves. It might have been sitting there a month. It might be there 5 weeks. And flaxseed oil, it can go rancid in as little as 6 weeks sometimes. So you get it home, it's going to sit in your pantry for a little while. Some people might be seasoning their pans and skillets with rancid oil and not even realizing it. Okay, problem number 2 is you are not supposed to cook with flaxseed oil. It may be the healthiest oil in the world, who knows, when it comes to drizzling over a salad, but you are not supposed to cook with it. And flaxseed has a low smoking point around 225 degrees. Around that temperature, when it starts to smoke, that oil can turn into unhealthy compounds. Now I realize that other oils, when they start to smoke, probably turn into similar compounds. But what I don't like about the flaxseed oil is that with that low smoke point, it's around 225 degrees. When I cook food in the pan, I'm going to be frying food 300, 350, 375 degrees. I'm going to be cooking at above that oil's smoke point, so I don't like that. When I season with canola or vegetable or what have you, most of those smoke points are 425 or higher. And when I fry food, it's going to be at 350, 375, around there. It's still going to be lower than the smoking point of the oil I use to season the pan. So I like that better. Now problem 3 is a little bit more subjective. When people are told that they need to season their pan in the oven, it takes 3 or 4 hours to season a pan one time. And if you do that 6 times in a row, you're talking 20 to 24 hours of labor just to get a pan up and running and ready to cook. It is just way too much. You don't have to do it. The manufacturers don't say to do that. And I think it leads people down this path of seasoning when really they should be learning how to cook in their carbon steel pans and skillets. Also along those lines, a lot of people who buy carbon steel pans and skillets are moving away from a Teflon or some sort of chemical nonstick surface. Now, while I don't like those pans myself, they are easy to use. And when people switch from those pans to a carbon steel, I think they get disillusioned when they spend 15, 20 hours just getting a pan ready to cook. Then they try it for the first time and something sticks. They get disillusioned with the carbon steel and they tend to give up on it. And I don't think that's right, and I think they're missing out on kind of the benefits and the joy of cooking in carbon steel. I think it's much better to season once correctly and then just start cooking. For that same 20 hours you could spend screwing around with the seasoning on your pan, you could cook eggs over 100 times. Over 100 times. And finally, flaxseed oil stinks. If you use it to season your pan and get it up to smoking, smoking flaxseed oil to me smells like dead fish. Your house is going to reek. So if flaxseed oil is so bad, what should you use? Well, let's listen to the people that know best. Let's look at the manufacturers. Here I have instruction booklets from Moviel, Debouillet, Matfer, and good old American Lodge. Not a single one of them says to use flaxseed oil. And furthermore, not a single one of them says to season your pan 6 times in a row before you start using it. Moviel specifically says to use a flavorless, high smoking point oil. They did not say low smoking point. They specifically said to use a high smoking point oil. And they mentioned canola, vegetable, sunflower, or avocado. And I think Moviel knows what they're talking about. So the first thing you want to do, especially when you're new, is pick one of those 4 oils. So choose one of those 4 oils. And from there, the best seasoning advice ever is to give your pan a good initial seasoning with one of those oils, and then just cook, cook, cook. Cook more and season less. Now, the more you cook in these pans, the more you're going to realize that what you thought were problems with the seasoning are really problems with your cooking techniques. But the more you cook, the better your techniques are going to become. The more you cook, the more your pan is going to darken in, and the better the seasoning is going to become. So just cook more and season less. Cook, cook, cook. Okay, if you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to the channel. Here are links to some other videos you might like. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time on Uncle Scott's Kitchen.